Michigan International Speedway is one of the fastest tracks on the NASCAR calendar. A 2-mile oval where speeds are relentless, corners demand precision, and mistakes happen in fractions of a second. It is the kind of track that exposes every gap in a driver's experience. And this weekend, Cleetus McFarland, a YouTuber with 4.75 million subscribers who has been grinding through the NASCAR ladder one painful lesson at a time, is walking straight into it. But before the green flag even drops, Cleetus and his close friend Squirrel McNutt just made a major announcement about their Michigan race weekend that has the NASCAR community buzzing. Cleetus is not just racing in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series on Saturday. He is pulling double duty, also competing in the ARCA Menards Series on Friday. And Squirrel McNutt is joining him on track for the ARCA race, making it the 4th time the two have raced together in 2026. On top of all that, Michigan International Speedway officially announced that Cleetus will serve as the Grand Marshal for the truck race, meaning he will give the command to start engines before climbing into his own truck and racing. 1 weekend, 2 drivers, 3 roles. Here is everything you need to know. So who exactly is Cleetus McFarland? His real name is Garrett Mitchell, and he is 33 years old. He built one of the most loyal audiences in automotive YouTube around a very simple formula: big horsepower, American flags, burnouts, and the kind of unfiltered racing energy that feels completely removed from the polished world of professional motorsport. He owns the Freedom Factory, a short track in Bradenton, Florida, where he runs events, builds cars, and has spent years cultivating a community that lives and breathes car culture. His YouTube channel combines high-octane energy and humor within the motorsports environment, focusing on custom car builds, drag racing, automotive challenges, and local races at the Freedom Factory. But the story behind his NASCAR journey is bigger than just a YouTuber chasing fame on a racetrack. It starts with Greg Biffle, a former Cup Series contender and respected veteran of the sport. Cleetus struck up a friendship with Biffle while doing charity work in the hurricane-battered North Carolina high country region. During that time, Cleetus told Biffle about his long-term goal of racing in the Daytona 500. Biffle was supportive but also pushed Cleetus to treat that ambition with real discipline and patience. Those guardrails, both personal and professional, guided Cleetus through the early stages of his racing development. Then, in December, Biffle died in an aviation incident, and everything changed. Racing in the memory of Biffle, Cleetus wanted to very quickly work his way towards Daytona, but quickly realized that it was more challenging than even his respectful stance towards the industry gave credit for. The Daytona 500 remains the destination, but the road to get there runs through tracks like Michigan first. Now, before we get into the racing itself, the paint scheme for this weekend deserves its own moment, because when Niece Motorsports unveiled the number 4 Chevrolet Silverado that Cleetus will pilot on Saturday, the reaction was immediate. The truck is running a red, white, and blue livery with a giant bald eagle on the door. Sponsorship comes from Comprehensive Logistics and Circle B Diecasts. And Cleetus himself summed it up perfectly when he saw it, saying, "It's the baldeagle.com car. I'm going to be flying like a bald eagle out here." That quote tells you everything about why this paint scheme works. It is loud. It is patriotic. It is completely on brand for a driver who built his entire identity around freedom-themed events, American horsepower, and doing things his own way. In NASCAR, paint schemes can create a moment before the green flag even drops, and this one already has. Joe Fowler, president of Michigan International Speedway, added to the excitement of the announcement, saying, "Cleetus is a natural-born entertainer and one of the biggest names in racing today. There's no doubt he's going to energize the crowd before putting on a show for our fans as the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series returns to the Irish Hills." And energize the crowd he will, literally, because Cleetus has also been named the Grand Marshal of the DQS Solutions and Staffing 250. That means before he straps into his truck, he will stand on the grid and deliver the most famous words in motorsports. "I'm fired up to serve as the Grand Marshal in the DQS Solutions and Staffing 250, powered by Precision Vehicle Logistics," said McFarland. "I've never done anything like this before, but it's going to be a super cool opportunity to get to do this before the race. We're going to be ripping it on Saturday, and I hope to see you all out there." To understand what Michigan means for Cleetus right now, you have to understand where he has been in 2026. His season has been a mix of genuine progress and very visible setbacks. And it is worth walking through every single start to see the full picture. In the ARCA Menards series, he opened the year at Daytona and finished 11th. Then came Kansas, where he finished 20th. Neither result was spectacular, but he was gaining laps, learning tracks, and building his approval history with NASCAR. In the ARCA Menards Series East, he ran Rockingham and finished 4th. a solid result that showed real competitiveness at the short track level. Then came Talladega in the ARCA Menards series, and that race changed the way a lot of people looked at him. Cleetus finished second, led 19 laps, and came incredibly close to winning. He lined up fourth in a final one-lap shootout, used the draft perfectly, and briefly took the lead in the tri-oval before contact with Gustine in the number 25 for Nitro Motorsports dropped him back to second. Andy Jankowiak passed Cleetus in a full-contact battle to the checkered flag, earning his first win instead. But Cleetus had led laps. He had raced for the win. He had proven that the ARCA experiment was not just a celebrity cameo. That near win is why every new Cleetus start now carries a little extra weight. The NASCAR National Series starts, however, have told a different story. His NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series debut at Daytona in February lasted just 6 laps before he lost control at the exit of Turn 4 and crashed into the inside wall, finishing 37th, last in the field. It was a harsh reminder that Daytona might look simple from the outside, but when you are 3 wide in turbulent air surrounded by experienced drivers, the smallest overcorrection can end the day instantly. His NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series starts with Richard Childress Racing have been similarly difficult. At Rockingham, he finished 32nd. At Nashville, he finished 35th, with spins and penalties adding to a tough day. The pattern across his full 2026 resume is pretty clear. In ARCA, he has shown real flashes. In the National NASCAR Series, the results have been much rougher. That is exactly why Michigan is such an important weekend. Michigan International Speedway is the biggest non-super speedway oval Cleetus has ever taken on, and that matters more than it might seem on paper. Cleetus is stepping into the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series at a 2-mile oval, and this is the biggest non-super speedway oval he has ever taken on. At a track like Daytona or Talladega, there is a draft to lean on. Pack racing creates a kind of safety net. Stay in line, manage your position, and the aerodynamics do a lot of the work. Michigan does not work that way. At Michigan, you cannot just sit in a pack and survive. You have to drive the truck, manage air, lift correctly, protect corner entry, and understand how the truck behaves when another driver takes air off your nose or your right rear. Drivers must lift more through the corners than they would at a superspeedway, commit to lanes earlier, and react to how the air around them shifts mid-corner at high speed. That has been the biggest learning curve for Cleetus all year. He is not lacking confidence, and he is definitely not lacking seat time and fast things. But NASCAR National Series racing is its own monster. The DQS Solutions and Staffing 250 is scheduled for Saturday, June 6th at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. Stages are set at 30, 60, and 125 laps, with a total purse of $789,700. Practice goes at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and qualifying follows at 10:35 a.m. Eastern Time on the same day. The entry list carries 37 drivers for 36 spots, meaning one team will not make the race. This is also where the double duty element becomes genuinely important. On Friday, June 5th, Cleetus will first compete in the ARCA Menards Series Henry Ford Health 200 at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on FS2. Those laps on Friday are not just bonus racing, they are preparation. More laps at Michigan before the truck race means more understanding of what the track is doing, where the grip is, how the surface changes, and where the commitment points need to be. For a developing driver still learning a new track at this level, that kind of additional seat time is genuinely valuable, and Cleetus will not be alone on the track for the ARCA race. George Siciliano, known online as Squirrel McNutt, will join him in the ARCA Menards Series at Michigan, driving the number 0 Ford for Retta Jones Racing using owner points from Wayne Peterson Motorsports. The news was first revealed on the Bald Eagles podcast hosted by both drivers, where Cleetus confirmed, "You'll be driving an ARCA car." It was then mentioned again in ARCA's pitbox preview for the Michigan race. This will mark the 4th time the two have raced together in 2026, having previously competed against each other at Rockingham in the ARCA East, and again at Kansas and Talladega. Their partnership goes back further than racing. Squirrel is a close friend and frequent collaborator on Cleetus' YouTube channel, and Squirrel's own entry into ARCA racing came with the encouragement of the late Greg Biffle, who was close to both of them. Squirrel's 2026 ARCA resume shows a driver building his own approval history methodically. He debuted in the ARCA Menards Series East at Hickory, where he qualified 9th and finished 13th, 7 laps down. To earn approval for Kansas, he then had to run Rockingham, which was not originally on his schedule. He qualified 11th and finished 9th, 3 laps down. At Kansas, qualifying was canceled and he started 24th, finishing 12th 2 laps down, a result that earned him approval for Talladega. At Talladega, he was running in the top 10 in the closing laps before he was caught in the big one with 7 laps to go and finished 29th. That is superspeedway ARCA racing. Sometimes you make the right moves and still get wiped out. Michigan presents a different kind of challenge for Squirrel. The speeds will be high, but drivers will have to lift more, handle dirty air differently, and manage corner speed in a way that is less forgiving than a pure drafting race. With nearly 30 cars expected in the ARCA field, both Squirrel and Cleetus are going to draw plenty of attention on Friday. Back in the truck race on Saturday, Cleetus will have experienced company within the Niece Motorsports stable. Ross Chastain will pilot the number 45, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. will run the number 42, both Cup Series veterans making truck starts at Michigan. For Cleetus, having veterans around him inside the same organization is valuable because the difference between being lost and being competitive at this level can be a few small details. Where do you lift? How does the truck react behind another truck? How early do you commit to a lane? What happens when the air changes mid-corner? Those are the things a new driver has to learn quickly. And having teammates like Chastain and Stenhouse just a radio call away inside the same organization is a resource Cleetus has not always had access to at this level. One of the most significant voices to weigh in on Cleetus' development this week has been Dale Earnhardt Jr. On his Dale Jr. Download podcast, in the Ask Dale segment, Earnhardt was asked about Cleetus' path forward and gave an honest assessment. Well, there was a lot of mistakes, Earnhardt said. Listen, everyone who gets into racing, who gets into it, is going to bust their ass under somebody. Nashville especially. He's out there running laps, and I don't think he ruined anyone's days. I thought he did fine. But Earnhardt's core advice was direct. My whole feeling about his deal is, if he can get himself 2 full seasons or a couple of years in ARCA, running all the ARCA races, all of them, short tracks everywhere, if he could go do that, man, I think he would be way better off to try to tackle this O'Reilly stuff. He also flagged the frustration risk, warning that eventually the results in a National Series car will weigh on Cleetus because the equipment deserves to run further forward than his current experience allows. Earnhardt's prescription matched what NASCAR officials have also communicated. They want to see more from Cleetus in ARCA, on short tracks and all venue types, before granting approval for larger tracks in the O'Reilly car. His specific recommendation was a full ARCA schedule plus regular seat time in the Pro Late model that Cleetus has already purchased, including laps at his own Freedom Factory track. If he's in it to have fun, run good, and still learn at the same rate, you can go do that in the ARCA series, Earnhardt added. He's got a Pro Late model that he built. Go run that. He's got a racetrack. I would be at that racetrack running laps. That advice frames exactly what Michigan needs to be for Cleetus this weekend. Nobody is expecting a win. Nobody is expecting him to suddenly dominate a truck race at a 2-mile oval on his second career start in the series. What matters is executing the basics. Keep the truck clean. Run competitive lap times throughout the race. Manage pit road without penalties. Finish the event. Move forward through the field where possible. Nobody should expect him to suddenly dominate a truck race at Michigan. But he does not need to. He needs laps. He needs confidence. He needs a clean day. The narrative around Cleetus has already shifted this season. After Daytona, fans were asking whether he could even survive a NASCAR race. After Talladega and ARCA, they started asking whether he could actually compete. Now, heading into Michigan, the question has evolved again. How much has he genuinely improved? A clean run this weekend, even a mid-pack finish, moves that story forward in a meaningful way. A rough day sends it backward. Cleetus McFarland is still trying to prove he belongs in more NASCAR races. Squirrel McNutt is still building his own approval and experience. Both are stepping into Michigan, a track that will test speed, discipline, and patience. For longtime fans of their channel and their crew, seeing both of them involved on the same Michigan NASCAR weekend is the kind of crossover that keeps pulling new eyes into the sport. There are fans who will tune in just because Cleetus is racing. There are fans who will watch because Squirrel is in the ARCA field. The Daytona 500 dream is still on the horizon, but right now the road runs straight through Michigan International Speedway on June 5th and 6th.